Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Amma ba'd. We continue with the reasons for divorce short series. Last week we spoke about the introduction and some of the reasons that are problematic in marriage and usually lead to divorce before the marriage. From the roles of the parents in raising the children to the person looking for a spouse and making sure that the person that they're marrying to the best of their ability is what they're actually looking for. This week, inshallah azza wa jal, we speak about some of the things that lead to divorce inside the marriage. Before we begin the specific points, I just want to remind the brothers and the sisters that this is not a gender issue. A lot of the sisters, when they came up and they were talking about the course, they were mentioning, of course, Sheikh, you're going to be smashing the females. And a lot of the brothers, they said when they come talking to the course, of course, Sheikh, you're going to be smashing the males. Anyone that goes into any problem with that mentality is not going to be able to benefit at all. Even if it's said in a joking sense, there's truth to every joke. So if females are going into any type of marriage course, any type of fiqh course about marriage, any type of reasons for divorce course, any type of anything, with the mentality that, we're the ones that are going to be smashed, then how are you going to benefit? When a person's on the defensive, they're already blocking out any of the benefits that are going to come their way. If someone's trying to give you advice and you're on the defensive, you don't want to take their advice. You're not taking what they're saying, processing and saying, is it relevant to me, yes or no? Is it true, yes or no? Is it a reality, yes or no? Is it factual, yes or no? It's a defense, 100% is not going to be right. So you can't go into it with that mentality, whether you're a brother or you're a sister. Rather, when it comes to any type of advice, any type of course that you go to, you want to say, is what the person is saying from the Quran and from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ? If it is, then obviously we accept. Sama'na wa ata'na. We hear and we obey. If you believe it's not from the Quran, it's not from the Sunnah, and it's more based on opinion, then actually say, okay, instead of me outrightly rejecting what the person's opinion is or what he's saying, let me at least look at the facts. Is what he's saying actually happening? On the ground, is it happening? Let me look at the people around me. Let me look at the society around me. Let me look at the world around me. Is what the person is saying actually happening? If it's what's happening, then accept it. Even if emotionally you don't want to accept it. Even if emotionally you disagree with it. Even if you've been programmed from a young age until now you're an adult. You've been taught and certain things have been instilled in you. Whether you're a male or a female. Take a step back and actually process it. If what the person is saying is correct, then accept it. Then accept it. Because there's nothing worse than a person not being able to control his emotions and them overcoming the reality that they are in, and then they live their entire lives with problems. And this is a massive issue which unfortunately we continue to have. From the first points that we mentioned regarding problems inside the marriage that lead usually to divorce is, and this is continuing from last week, is not sticking to the original agreements that were had and that were come to from the two parties. If you, dear brother, or you, dear sister, when you get married, or as you're getting married, you agree to certain conditions, or you agree to certain matters, don't go back on them in the future, except with your spouse's approval. For example, the agreement is before marriage, I don't want my wife to work. And my wife agrees. Dear sister, don't push and pressure your husband now I want to go out and work. Because you came to that agreement. He married you on that premise. For example, a sister, maybe she gets married and she tells her brother, look, I'm happy to get married and I want to get married and mashallah, you're everything that I want in a man, but I don't want to be further than, for example, half an hour away from my parents. Don't say, after you're married, no matter what, you're following me, I want to move to Western Australia. With all due respect to the brothers and sisters in Western Australia. Over Melbourne, 100% I advise go to Western Australia. Stay away from Victoria as far as you can. Don't say, I'm going to take you to Western Australia and let you have to follow your husband. Not everything becomes a fiqh lesson. What's the right of the husband? What's the right of the wife? Can a husband do that? Can he not do that? Not everything that is halal is appropriate to do. Not everything that is halal is appropriate to do. there's water in this bottle. Is it haram if I was to get this water and tip it on myself in the lesson? Is it haram? It's not haram, it's halal. Is it appropriate? It's not appropriate. No one's going to be left in the lesson. Certain people are going to start doing ruqyah. It's not appropriate. Not everything that is halal is appropriate. If I was to spit in my hand now, is it haram for me to spit in my hand? It's not haram. But is it appropriate to do? It's not appropriate. Same thing. Don't turn every matter in your marriage or in life a fiqh mas'ala. Is it halal or is it haram? Is it fard or is it haram? Is it mustahab or is it makruh? Is it appropriate to do? We only want to do with the halal. Is it appropriate in the first place to do? Why did you agree to that condition if it was in your mind or later on you don't respect that agreement where you say, you know what, now my life, whatever, I want to move to Western Australia? Because that usually leads to massive issues. Because the person says, I put that condition or we came to that agreement for a reason. It was a really important thing for me. I didn't worry what our bed quilt looked like. I didn't worry about what the color of our walls looked like. That's why I didn't mention it before we were married. But things like me not wanting my wife to work or me not living far away from my parents, etc., 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 these things are important. So for you to recant on those matters that you agreed to from the beginning is a big issue. So not sticking to original agreements after the marriage, and this unfortunately happens a lot. Number 2, not understanding that your spouse is the opposite gender, inshallah. Nowadays we have to say that. Not understanding that your spouse is the opposite gender. You, dear brother, are a male. You, dear sister, are a female. One of the biggest issues that we have in life today, in society, in the world today is we don't understand that men and women are different. For some reason, they're hell-bent on trying to make men and women exactly the same. And we're not. Biologically, we're not the same. Emotionally, we're not the same. Physically, we're not the same. Doesn't matter which aspect you look at it. Men and women are not the same. And we need to understand that when we go into marriage, that we're not the same. Because if you expect your wife to be like a man, or you, dear sister, expect your husband to be like a female, you're going to have major issues. For example, you as a man, you can joke around with your wife, with your friends about a million things. You can call your friends fat, skinny, tall, short, ugly, toothless, smelly. You can say whatever you want, even though it's not Islamic. But you could say whatever you want, and 99.9 repeater % of the time, he's not going to have any issue with it whatsoever. And tomorrow you're going to say friends forever. No problem. Friends tomorrow, the day after, no issue, inshallah. If you try and joke around like that with your wife, you have big, massive issues. Joke around one day with your wife, don't do it. I'm saying as a hypothetical. If you were to say to your wife, MashaAllah, you look like a whale today, tabarakallah, what did you eat? She will not laugh, and she will hold it in her heart forever. What did you mean by that? Were you serious? Who are you comparing me to? They took it differently. Now you can't say, well, I'm only joking, man. Why are you taking it so seriously? This is how I joke. Why? Because maybe you joke around like that with men who they've got much thicker skin and they don't take things as personally, and they're not as sensitive regarding these matters. But for a female, this is very, 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 very offensive to her. Taban, I'm generalizing. It's very offensive to her. And it really hurts her to think that even as a joke, did he mean it? That will kill the female inside a lot of the time. And the same thing with the females. Don't expect your husband to be like a man, to be like a woman. Yani, for example, maybe your girlfriends, they cry to you, they open up to you, they talk to you about their issues. Don't think your husband doesn't like you if he doesn't want to talk to you about his issues. Or he doesn't cry. Or he doesn't know what to do when you're crying. Don't like, oh, my husband doesn't love me. He's not close to me. Why he doesn't open up to me? When was it considered a condition of love or a good relationship that the husband opens up and cries to the wife? We shouldn't look at the spouse as the same as us, no. The man is a certain way. The man lives a certain way. The man thinks a certain way. And so if you're a female, you should look at that and understand that if he doesn't think and act the exact same way as you, then it's not a problem. And the men, the same thing. If you look at your wife and expect her to be exactly like you, you're mistaken. She's not going to be like that. So when you see her different, don't be surprised. And when you're dealing with a woman, you need to do the things that make the woman happy. And when you're dealing with a man, you need to do the things that make a man happy. Like, for example, Men, when you are annoyed, what do you want done to you? Absolutely nothing. When you're angry, you don't want anyone to talk to you. Let me sit on the couch and let me look into the abyss for half an hour and I'll be fine, inshallah. Don't look at your wife when she's angry and say, you know what, I'm going to give her time and her space. Why? Because that is going to make her more angry. When she's angry, no, she wants you to comfort her. She wants you to talk to her. Really, what she wants is for you to not talk at all. But she wants to be able to talk to you without you giving her any advice. Just let her talk to you. Now you may think, I mean, as a man, that's the stupidest thing. Why are you complaining to me and if you don't want advice? But that's because you're thinking like a man. As a female, she wants to vent and she wants to talk to you and she wants you as her boulder and as her stone to lean on and she wants your shoulder. That's what she wants. So don't look at, now, because I like to be left alone, I left you alone. It doesn't work like that. You're not dealing with another person like you. You're dealing with a female that thinks differently. So understand that you're different. And as you're growing up, and this is again a big thing on the parents, but if they're not there yet, you as a mature adult, start to ask your mother and your father, how is the female like? What does the female like doing? And the females ask the males, how is the male like? What is he like doing? Start to understand what the nature of both are, and this will assist you, inshallah, in the process of being able to do with one another productively. But if you expect them to be like you, the same gender, you're going to have massive issues. And this is what the world is trying to push today. And this is wrong. Every movie, the man is a female. The way that he talks and the way that he's emotional, this is not your average male. It's not your average male. So when a woman gets married and that's what she's expecting, she's surprised that my husband's not normal. Or there's a problem with my husband. And the same thing with the males. They look at movies and the woman's like a male. So when they get married and she's not like that, they get surprised. Learn the nature of each one and be able to do with that nature according to what is appropriate to that nature. Number 3, and this is my personal opinion, okay? Based on the issues and the experiences that we've had and that when we talk to people about, maybe, and I'm being, I believe, generous here, maybe about 80% of marriage problems are from this one. This is my personal belief, okay? Based on the experiences that I've come across. Maybe about 80% of marriage problems are because of this, but maybe only 2 or 3% of the time it actually comes out that that's the reason. And that's a lack of intimacy. A lack of being intimate with your spouse. Whether it is the actual act of intimacy, sexual intercourse between the spouses, or touching and talking, etc., etc., etc. A lack of that. And a lot of the time when we think of a lack of that, we automatically think of who's the sexually frustrated one. We think the male. But the majority of the time, the one who actually is sexually frustrated is who? The female. The problem is this lack of intimacy and the sexual frustration, it usually manifests itself in different ways. Sometimes the woman, because of her sexual frustration, she starts to be rude to the husband. She starts to backchat to the husband. She starts to be disrespectful to the husband. She starts to not cook properly, not clean the house properly. So as a husband, he's looking at his wife and he sees all of these issues. He never asks himself, what's the issue? He just blames, okay, the woman is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She's rude, she's disrespectful, she doesn't cook, she doesn't clean, she's not looking after the kids properly, she's not listening. He doesn't know that there are bigger things behind her. And when they go for marriage counseling or they get to solve their problems, is the woman ever going to say, I am this way because I'm not fulfilled sexually? I'm not satisfied sexually? Very, 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 very rare. Because it's not modest. Okay, for her to come out like that. Obviously, if it's needed to solve the issue, then it's not a problem. But the average woman doesn't want to talk about that issue because of that problem. So you as a man, you need to be smart. And you need to see. And it's sad that it's maybe not the most appropriate thing to talk like this. But because of how little it's spoken about, we need to be a little bit more explicit. For those that are married, a lot of you will experience, if there's good intimacy, like the days following that good intimacy, things are very, very, very good, tabarakallah. And look at back when you have had fights, maybe it's been a few days since there's been anything good. If you know what I mean. there's a correlation. There's a correlation. So don't neglect the sexual needs of your partner. For a man, because we're not as emotional. So for us, intimacy is intimacy. Like, Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam, done, finished. For the woman, it's not. For the في ولاد هون سامحني حاج ان شاء الله ما بيفهموا علي واذا بيفهموا منيح للمستقبل ان شاء الله. He's gonna think now when my mom's upset. Nah. This is the problem with kids. لا إله إلا الله. Where were we? So for the man, it's usually like a very simple equation: 1 + 1 = 2. For the woman, this is like much more. It's much more emotional. She's much more emotionally invested in the act of intimacy. If her husband's away from her, for you, for example, I'm lazy, I'm tired, I've got things to do, whatever, it is what it is. For the woman, this is like everything. This is how a man is showing that he's interested in me, that he loves me and he wants to be with me and he's attracted to me, etc., etc., etc. So it's a lot more than just the act for the woman. And so a lot of men, if they don't do it, or they don't do it properly, it's a massive issue. And even females, for example, she doesn't want to feel, okay, the guy came, done it, and went. Okay, what about before? What about during? What about after? For them, it's a whole process. And if you are realizing that, you know what, maybe my wife's acting a certain way, maybe she just is too shy to tell me that she needs more of that attention, because she doesn't want to look at as like a bad girl. Or if there's ever she speaks to a counselor, or if you ever go to marriage counseling, and he's like, okay, but she never brought it up. Of course, because she doesn't want to look like a bad woman, or an immoral woman, or a promiscuous woman. She doesn't want to, even though it's not, but she doesn't want to look like that. So she doesn't speak about it a lot of the time. So this is a massive issue in marriage, and so don't neglect it. A lot of time, like I said, it's the females that feel that neglect. Because either the men don't understand how important that physical interaction with the female is, or because the man doesn't do it properly. He goes, does it, finishes, walks away. Okay? And a lot of the time, if the man is the one who's sexually frustrated, a lot of the time he vents his frustration. That, I need it more, or, I'm not enjoying it, or whatever it may be. Okay? So, this is a massive thing in marriage that needs to be worked on and fixed. Some of the things that really lead to this lack of intimacy is obviously pornography, which is a massive issue. Okay? It's a massive, massive, massive plague on the whole world. So this is something that needs to get fixed. If a person is finding himself, he can't be intimate with his spouse because of it, even if you're not married, stay away from pornography, especially if you're not married. Because you will struggle when you are married. There are so many studies done now on the effects of pornography on a person's physical relationships. When you watch pornography, it's not real. The woman looks like she just came from Jannah. And so when you get married, you're like, there's none of that in the movies. Even the psychologists and the people that were studying this, I was talking about even the smells. When you're intimate with your spouse, there's smells. Okay, like the private parts, they have smells. So when a guy who's addicted to pornography, he goes and he starts smelling smells, he gets turned off. Because he's like, there's no smells in the movie. Everything looks like it's roses and clouds and stuff. There's also an unrealistic portrayal of, yarhamukallah, there's an unrealistic portrayal of what the actual intimacy is. Like in the movies, the guys, for example, are fahal, or the girl screaming, or whatever is going on. When you go to do it, it's nothing like that at all. There's another big problem, and that's that guys are trying to do what they see in movies on their spouse. Okay, he's going and he's doing certain things to her. I don't want to say anything to these kids. Yeah, Allah yadik. He's going and he's trying to do things, and it's like she's freaking out. Like, what the heck's going on? Okay, because this is not normal. It's not how intimacy is. But because he's so affected, so when he actually goes to do it, this is what's in his mind, and he starts to enact it. So stay away from pornography. Many guys, they can't get it up, okay, because of this issue. So you need to be very, 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 very careful to stay away from that. whether you're married or you're not married, especially if you're not married. Okay, and don't think it helps your marriage. Before they used to think that we need to promote this because it actually helps relationships. إِنَّ اللَّهَ طَيِّبٌ لَا يَقْبَلُ إِلَّا طَيِّبًا. Allah is pure, He only accepts that which is pure. Now they're backflipping on what they used to say because they realize how detrimental it was to relationships to Allah Musta'an. Another reason for lack of intimacy is laziness. Okay, a person being lazy. If you're lazy, don't be selfish. Okay, if you're lazy, don't be selfish. Yani, you know your spouse has needs, and so if you don't fulfill them, it could very easily lead to issues. It's no point, well, I'm going to benefit myself by being lazy now, but it could lead to marriage problems lazy. Okay, it could lead to marriage problems later on because of my laziness. Think of the bigger picture and don't be selfish. Sometimes it's due to a lack of physical attraction. This is a massive one. Again, boys and girls. Some sisters complain that their husband comes back from work and he stinks. He stinks and they don't want to be with him because he stinks. Brother, go have a shower, put perfume on, and then go sit with your spouse. Some of the Sahaba used to say, I love to beautify myself for my spouse, just as I love my spouse to beautify herself for me. So come home, have a shower, and then go to your spouse if that's what you want. Same thing for the females. Look attractive for your husband. Yani wallah, all of the fitan that are out there today, all of the fitan. He walks out of his door fitna, goes to work fitna. He goes anywhere there's fitna. Tayyib, compete with those females. Yani Allah Azza wa Jalla made you beautifying yourself an act of worship. If your husband likes makeup, if he smells, he likes perfume, he likes you to dress a certain way, do it. Don't say, wallah, I'm getting old, or the kids. Don't make excuses. The problem is, when we make excuses, we're belittling the fact that this could very well lead to divorce. It could very well lead to divorce. If that's where we're happy for it to lead, khalas, continue doing it, no problem. But if you don't want your husband to get divorced, you don't want to get divorced from your husband, you don't want your husband to take a second wife, then do what you can for your husband. Okay? So, look pretty for your spouse. Sometimes it's about exercise, sometimes it's about the smell, sometimes it's about the looks. Okay? Be reasonable when it comes to that. Another big, massive issue is, especially this is a bigger problem with men, it happens with females also, but a big problem with men is looking elsewhere, or cheating. Okay? Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Allah tells us to lower our gaze, it's for a reason. Okay? Don't look up left and right. Don't go to places where you know there's fitna everywhere. Don't go on sites and social media pages where you know it's all fitna. Don't do that. And then, if a person's cheating on his spouse, then this is something even worse. So, not being intimate. The fourth one is not being a team player. This one is very, very, very broad. But when you get married, you need to understand it's not all about you. You're one part of the relationship. It's not always about you. Also about your spouse. What does your wife want? What does your husband want? What does the other person like? What do I like? Where can I compromise? Where can they compromise? Where can I sacrifice? Where can they sacrifice? What do I want to do? What do they want to do? It's not all about one party. Sometimes you hear it's always about the husband, sometimes you hear it's always about the wife. If the husband's having a bad day, no one's allowed to do anything in the house. If the husband doesn't want to go somewhere, everyone has to stay in the house. If the husband, if the one person does something wrong in the house, for example, the husband leaves the house and leaves the family at home. Sometimes it's the opposite. The wife doesn't want to get anywhere, the whole house needs to stay there. The wife is feeling a little bit off, no one's allowed to come over. If the wife doesn't get her way, she doesn't want to cook and clean for a week. It's not how marriage is. You're part of a team. And it's not about the husband or the wife. Negotiate, speak, communicate. Where can I compromise? Okay, you know what, today, have you heard the story of Sharat Muawiyah? The story about Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. Not necessarily authentic, but it's a very famous statement. That when he was asked about his style in being a politician, because he was the leader of the Muslims, his style in being a politician and dealing with the people, he said, I keep between me and the people a hair. One hair. If they pull it, I let go a little bit. And if they let go a little bit, I pull it. This is how you have to be, even in marriage. Any type of siyasa. Okay, any type of position of leadership. You have to be diplomatic. For example, you say that your wife is upset or angry. Don't try and be the Hulk. Nah, this is what's going to happen. I don't care what goes on. If it's something you can be lenient on, something that you can ease off on, khalas, ease off. And same thing with the wife. If you say that, look, maybe this is very important to the husband, and it's not going to affect you, go along with it. Why cause issues? Now, if I don't get my way, I'm going to cause a big massive issue. It's not how marriage is meant to be. Okay? You're part of a team. Number 5, not understanding each other's roles and respecting them. Oh, big one. Not understanding each other's roles and respecting them. In the West, now they call it gender roles. Yani the man has certain things that he does and the woman has certain things that she does. They طبعا want to criminalize this, and in some places it is actually criminal to expect from the wife to do certain things, and if she doesn't do it, say, why didn't you do it? That is considered a type of abuse now in certain states. This is a very, 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 very big problem. So we're going to say, if you both agree, you both have roles that you do. What are the man's roles? What are the husband's roles? What are the wife's roles? What are the mother's roles? This is going to make your life much easier, inshallah. Culturally, these things are already clear. But nowadays, again, because they want to make the woman exactly like the man. And yes, without doubt, this whole issue of feminism is a massive, massive, massive issue. And I don't want anyone to look at what the Muslims say about feminism. Go and look at what the non-Muslims say about feminism, or what the non-Muslims statistically say about feminism, but will never mention the word feminism. Okay? They'll statistically talk about the issues that we have in our society, but whenever they talk about the reason why that's there, they'll never mention feminism in it, unfortunately. Or the change in the role of the woman. The man's role hasn't changed. It's been the exact same for thousands and thousands and thousands of years of civilization. It's the woman's role that's changed. So when we look at issues, let's look at realistically and name realistically and clearly what actually changed and what the issue is. Okay? So what is the man's role in the marriage? What is the woman's role in the marriage? Culturally, it's different from place to place. But if, for example, you got married and culturally, for the man, he goes out and he works. Okay, and he comes back and looks after the family. And the woman, she looks after the household. She cooks, she cleans, etc. When you know what your role is and what your role is, it's going to make your life much easier if you respect it and you stick to it. The husband comes home, the house is clean. What does he have to complain about? The husband comes home, there's food on the table. What does he have to complain about? The husband comes home, and for example, the children, they're showered or they're looked after. He's got nothing to complain about. When do a lot of problems happen? When the husband comes home and he's expecting that from his wife, because that's the agreement that they got married on, and none of that is done. So he starts complaining, why didn't you do this, why didn't you do this, why didn't you do that? And then she starts fighting back. It's none of your business, don't talk to me, whatever it may be. Problems arise, it happens a lot. Okay, or you have traditionally the man is the breadwinner, and he doesn't want to go and work. He wants to, again, he come home 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, sleep until 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, then go back and hang out with his friends, and the family doesn't have anything to live off. Or they're living off Centrelink. And they live off the most basic of basic. And the man has no excuse not to work. Why aren't you working? Aren't you the man in the relationship? They're your responsibility Islamically. Go and work. Also, a part of respecting each other's roles, Islamically speaking, is understanding what right Allah Azza wa Jal gave the man and what right Allah Azza wa Jal gave the woman. This is becoming a big issue, where there's so much push from the feminist side on the rights that Islam gave the woman. And we say 100%, everything Islam gave we need to stick to, which includes the rights of the woman. But never ever ever forget the rights that Islam gave the men. Never forget the rights that Islam gave the men. And unfortunately, it's always, when this is discussed, always one of the two is discussed. Either someone is discussing the right of the man, which is very rare because of all the backlash that they receive, or that which is promoted, and that's what takes the lion's share of the airwaves, the rights of the woman. And what Islam advised regarding women, 100%. Not everything cultural is bad. Not everything cultural is bad. Culture is only bad when it goes against Islam. A lot of the time when they talk about the male being the authority figure in a relationship, they say this is something cultural, this is not Islamic. It's something cultural. No, it's not. It's something Islamic. Do we actually need to go through the ahadith, the ayat of Quran, the ijma'at, the consensus of the ulama regarding the authoritiveness of the husband. If the husband tells his wife Islamically, I don't care what any others say. We're talking Islamically. If the husband says to his wife, no, you're not allowed to leave today. Whether it's illegal or legal, this is another matter. We're talking Islamically. Is she allowed to leave? No. Is a person allowed to come into the man's house without his permission? No. Is a woman allowed to fast a voluntary fast without her husband's permission? Prophet said to take his permission. The other right of the husband. Yes, of course we have the right of the woman. No one treats Islam the way she should be. No one treats the woman the way she should be treated like Islam and the Muslims. The way she should be treated. Not the way people want her to be treated. 100%. You want to go to many people in the West today? Yeah, 100%. They'll treat the woman the way she wants to be treated, which is full freedom. Full freedom. Is that the best way? Absolutely not. Look at what's happened. How many women, no one wants to marry them. 35, 40, 50 years old, not married. Because the guy says, I don't want to be married to that. Or she tried to focus on her career and then it was too late. Or people that aren't married, they don't have children. And then this leads to marriage issues. Or they can't have children. It leads to personal distress. How many people, their divorces are all failing because the woman wants to put her head with the man. La, yes, no, no, yes, no. So they get divorced. How many people, because of disagreements, this is the path I want to take in life, this is the path that you want to take in life. It leads to divorce. Was that best for the woman? Was that best for society? No. Islam comes with that which is a holistic approach, that which is best for both parties. Because it has a communal approach. Whereas in liberalism, which is what the world is ruled by today, it's an individualistic approach. It's about the individual. What do they want? What's going to benefit them? Not looking at the family circle or the communal circle. So when I understand Islam looks at something from a particular way and brings out legislation based on those goals that it wants to achieve. And unfortunately, this is becoming a matter which is very, very, very much neglected. And parents need to be careful what they advise their children. And husbands and wives need to be very careful in what they expect from each other Islamically. Both have rights and responsibilities. And both of them need to be fulfilled. From amongst the matters that cause, unfortunately, a lot of divorce in the community, number 6, abuse in all of its forms. Abuse in all of its forms. Again, this isn't something which is limited to one of the genders, one of the parties, the husband or the wife. We hear of it more from the husbands, but don't ever think that doesn't happen from the wives. But many men, it's something, again, taboo for them to come and talk about. Just like many women don't want to talk about their sexual frustrations, many men don't want to talk about the emotional abuse that they cop. Sometimes physical abuse that they cop. Because they're scared people are going to look at them funny. Come on, bro, pull up, bro. Have a swimful of concrete, akhi. Buy a deck of cards and do with it. Build a bridge and get over it. Are you serious? You're crying because your wife said something to you? Different people get affected differently. Husbands and wives, they're not allowed to physically abuse each other. Things like punching straight in the face, it's not allowed Islamically. Breaking bones, this is not allowed Islamically. This is for your enemies. This is for your enemies, not for your spouse, not for your children. Physical abuse, emotional abuse. You 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, from husbands and from wives. You 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're a failure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're stupid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You do nothing right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Emotional abuse day and night. Yani she wakes up, she opens up her eyes, and he's right there. Wallah, you're ugly. As an example. Okay? Or vice versa. The husband tries to do good, and all he does is cop abuse from the wife. Wallah, you're lucky that I married you, and if it wasn't me marrying you, no woman would marry you, and you should thank Allah Azza wa Jal 7,000 times a day that you married a woman like me because you're useless, you're pathetic, etc., etc., etc. This is not allowed. This is not allowed. And for some people, physical is worse. And other people, emotional is a killer for many people. So abuse in all of its form is not allowed. Take the prophetic advice. من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فليقل خيرا أو ليصمت. Whoever believes in Allah and the last day, let him speak good or remain silent. Simple. Keep silent. You don't have anything good to say, keep silent. You're not allowed to abuse. Even bad nicknames. وَلَا تَنَبْزُوا بِالْأَلْقَابِ. They give each other bad nicknames. You're not allowed. Wallah, mashallah, rhinoceros and hippopotamus. And the whole zoo, he calls his wife and she calls him every name under the sun also. Don't call each other bad nicknames. Religious abuse. Don't pick and choose what you want from the religion. أَفَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِبَعْضِ الْكِتَابِ وَتَكْفُرُونَ بِبَعْضِ. Allah Azza wa Jal, He admonished the people of the books before us, because He said, as He says, subhanahu wa ta'ala, do you believe in part of the book and disbelieve in part? So many times I get a phone call, Shaykh, is it haram, or please tell my wife, is it halal or haram to do this? Hold on a second, بتصلي انت? Do you pray? Do you go to the masjid? Do you read Quran? Do you do your afkar? Do you do this? Do you do that? Why you want to smash your wife? Why is the Shaykh there to smash your wife? Or sometimes the opposite. Sometimes the female. Shaykh, can you please tell my husband that it's haram to do this? Or that he has to let me do this? Why? Why are you using the religion like a baseball bat? The religion is not a baseball bat. The religion came to help you in your life. The religion came to be your life. Not to be a baseball bat used against your partner. You see people that don't wear hijab, they don't pray, they smoke, they gamble, they go mix weddings, like haram from top to bottom. There's nothing in their life except that it's haram. Except when they want to smash their spouse. When they want to smash their spouse, أنا حكيت مع الشيخ. I spoke with the sheikh. And the sheikh said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not how it works. Don't make a person hate the religion. So when they told the kids, Wallah told the sheikh, why are you scaring the kid with the sheikh? Every time haram, the kids come to the sheikh, Sheikh, I didn't do anything. The kid should love the sheikh. He should be happy he sees the sheikh. Not he hates the sheikh. He's scared of the sheikh. The sheikh's going to come in his dream and take his ruh. Same thing with the husband and the wife. The religion is meant to make your lives better. It's meant to make your lives better. Talk about forgiveness, for example. Talk about overlooking. Talk about patience. Talk about good character. Talk about bettering one another. Talk about getting close to Allah. Talk about barakah in your life when you do good deeds. That's what you encourage one another with. But you want to use the religion as a baseball bat. Sheikh, isn't it true that the wife is not allowed to leave the house except with her husband's permission? Yeah, okay, but why are you calling for that now? Why are you calling for that? You lived your whole life in riba, for example. War with Allah Azza wa Jal, major sin on major sin on major sin. Why are you worried about that ruling and you forget that ruling? Don't ever be like that person. I consciously try with myself, my brothers and sisters, because we're not perfect. I try my best not to ever mention the religion. If I ever have an issue with my wife, I try my best never to mention the religion. My brothers and sisters, try my best never to mention the religion. Why? Because what ends up happening if I try and be religious, or I try and use the religion, and it's emotional. Okay, there's a problem going on. They end up hating the religion because of me. Oh, now you want to use the religion? So they end up hating you and the religion. If you've got a problem with your spouse, don't use the religion. Fix that problem. Use the religion to fix your problem, beginning with yourself. Am I going about it the right way? Am I dealing with the problem the right way? Am I leading? Am I causing the issues? Am I fixing other things in my life? Am I taking the words of the sheikh myself? Be very, very, very careful not to use the religion as a weapon. Be very careful of all types of abuse, from the husband and from the wife. Be very careful if your spouse tells you they don't like something, of continuing with it. Sometimes, some of us, we do it in an unintentional way. For example, your wife tells you, look, when, for example, you yell at me, or you raise your voice, I don't like it. Okay, don't take it as a joke. Or you a little kid, because you don't know, especially trauma that they went through when they were young, you don't know how it affects them now. This happens a lot. Okay? Sometimes, like as a joke, for example, maybe with your mate, like you square up, for example. Or as a joke, like you body shots or whatever. Sometimes you do that, like mucking around with your wife, and like she cries. Alhamdulillah, it's never happened with me, just so everyone knows. Okay, but why? Because, for example, maybe her dad used to bash her when she was young. For example. And it automatically brings back bad memories. Allah, you think this is freaking recorded? You're gonna get social. Yeah, he's your mate, huh? I'm gonna put his address. You come to him. You don't know how it can affect them. So if they're actually going through something, be very careful not to magnify that issue and take what they're saying seriously. Again, if it's halal, take what they're saying seriously. That maybe they don't like when you do that. And if we need to be smarter as well. You want to achieve something. You want to come to a goal between you and your spouse. You want them to be good to you and you want to be good with them. That if you're doing something that's going to make them worse towards you, you didn't benefit anything. So if your partner is actually telling you, I don't like when you talk like that, or I don't like when you do this, or I don't like when this happens, obviously there's a level, and you don't want to get to a person with complete control, but take what they're saying into consideration so that if it's something can be avoided, it can easily be avoided, inshallah. The last two that we'll mention today, inshallah, number 7, not having a willingness to resolve issues. If you're already married and there's issues, or issues come up in the future, have a willingness to resolve the issue. Okay, this is my problem, this is your problem. How can we sort it out? Have a willingness to resolve the issue. If you don't have a willingness to resolve the issue, you can get to a million mashayikh. Nothing's going to happen. وَالَّذِينَ اهْتَدَوْا زَادَهُمْ هُدًى. The ones who seek guidance, Allah Azza wa Jalla guides them. Put your foot forward to seek assistance if you want to actually solve the problem. But, okay, this is the problem, I don't care. No matter what happens, I'm not going to change. If you're in the wrong, especially, or you can change and it's not going to affect you as a man, it's not going to affect you as a woman, then change. Why not change? Especially if you have yourself, okay, I get divorced, what am I going to do now? Now, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, for those that are married, you know the ni'mah of being able to be saved a little bit even from fitna. Like you have something to go to. Okay, how are you going to hold yourself with all of the fitna out there? Or for example, you have children. You don't want to leave your children growing up, the dad's not involved in the life, the mother's not involved in the life. Why? Because they couldn't resolve one little issue. If you can change, change. And again, the husband and the wife. This isn't about smashing one or the other. This is for advice for both. Fix those issues and have a willingness to change. And a lot of this comes back to pride. A person having pride, I don't want to change. Why? Heck. Because this is how I am. If you don't like it, feel free to go. Don't have this mentality. It's not good for you. And usually our emotions now, they're going to lead to problems later on. You can do something now, emotionally you're worked up, you make a decision, you end up regretting it later on. Don't be that type of person. The final one is always thinking that the grass is greener on the other side. This is a massive issue. There was one brother, he had marriage issues. He called up another brother. This brother, mashallah, is older, he's mature, he's actually been divorced before. So the brother that called him up, he mentioned, listen, I'm going through marriage issues. These are my problems, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The woman's a very good woman, but we have these marriage issues. The brother advised him, he said, Akhi, if she's got that many good points, stay with her. Because the bad points that you mentioned, every woman has. That was, for that brother, who I know very well, a very, 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 very golden piece of advice. And it stuck with him ever since. Alhamdulillah, he's been married many years now. He stuck with him, and same woman, alhamdulillah. He's been stuck with him many, many, many years since. Why? Because that simple statement, the bad points that you mentioned, this is not your wife. This is every woman. This is how human beings are. But if she's got that many good points, alhamdulillah, this is a good thing. Say alhamdulillah for the good points and work with the bad points. Work with them. Work on how to improve them, etc., etc., etc. But to break off a marriage for that, and then you're going to get married, but you're going to find the same thing in the next wife. What are you going to do? Continue to get in divorce? It's not going to happen. Don't think that the grass is always green on the other side. Sisters, stop thinking that everyone lives an amazing marriage. Anyone here, Anjad, have a perfect marriage? No one has a perfect marriage. There's no such thing as a perfect marriage. Anyone here never fought with their wife? Never had an argument with their wife? Yeah, the ones that just on the cutback tab, maybe. Don't worry, give it 2.5 weeks, no problem. It's normal, it's human nature. We have fights, we disagree, we have our bad days, we have our good days. There are certain influences, maybe the man's stressed from work, maybe the woman has her menses, or maybe she's pregnant, or her postnatal depression. There's a million reasons why people change. They get emotional, they lose patience. It's normal. Don't always think that, oh wallah, say them, oh, if only my husband could be like him. If only my wife could be like her. You do not know the other person's issues. You don't know them. Wallah, how many people are saying the exact same thing about you? It's the exact same thing about you. Wallah, I wish I had a relationship like you. Because they don't know your bad points. They think that you're living the dream, tabarakallah. Look how good he is and look how good she is. It's just that you know how to mask your problems a little bit better. How many people you see, they're living their best lives and then they get divorced, and not everyone's questioning that. No one can comprehend that these people got divorced. What happened there for them to get divorced? You don't know what things are going on behind the scenes. Don't ever think that the grass is greener on the other side. Thank Allah Azza wa Jal for what you have. And a big problem with this is social media. It's a massive problem. There's a reason people's depression has skyrocketed. Because everyone thinks that the fake things that they see in social media is real. Yani, you all know about social media. How hard is it to pick a 30-second window in your day and take a photo? Which makes you look like you're living, tabarakallah, a dream. Yani, once in a lifetime, you take your wife out and it's very easy for someone to come take a photo. And mashallah, my husband took me out. Or mashallah, me and the missus having date night. And then everyone that sees her, oh, why don't we have a date night? Look, they mashallah have a date night. Look how happy they are. Say he takes her out. Why don't you ever take me out? That's because he's just cheated on her for 6 months. I'm talking about like real life things that happen. He's just cheated on her for 6 months. You don't know what they went through. You don't know what they went through for them to come to that. You wouldn't want to be in those shoes. Don't fall for the lies. Any one of us can now go on his social media page, take a photo which will make him look like he's living the best life ever. And most of those people that are always online, these are statistics, these are studies. Some of these people have the worst mental health. They have the worst lives. Because they live fake lives. They live a 20-second video or a 1 second photo, and then the reality that they live is the worst of the worst. Many of them, they got no friends, they got no life, they got massive mental health issues, they got very low self-esteem, they need other people's validation and the like. Don't ever fall for it, especially the females. Get off these social media pages, unfollow these people. Wallah, it's lies upon lies. Thank Allah for what you have. Thank Allah for what you have. The Prophet ﷺ, when he told us, when it comes to dunya, to look at those below us. Look at those below you so that you don't belittle the ni'mah of Allah upon you. You don't belittle the blessings of Allah upon you. You look at her husband, oh, look at what he does. Okay, one, you don't know the issues. On top of that, look at the one below you, the one who's not married. Or the one whose husband is addicted to alcohol or gambling or drugs. Look at the one who's married and they can't have kids. Look at the one who's married and the husband can't find the work, they're barely scraping by. Look at the one whose husband's in jail. Look at the one whose husband's paralyzed. Thank Allah Azza wa Jal, your husband's decent. Okay, it's not perfection. Perfection comes in Jannah. All you need to be is patient for about 30, 40 years with your spouse, 50 years, 60 years, tabarakallah, 100 years. Allah Azza wa Jal give you a long, 100 years you have to be patient. And then in Jannah, all of the deficiencies are gone. All of the deficiencies are gone. Why not? Husbands with your wives. The Prophet ﷺ said, the believing man does not hate the believing woman. If he dislikes one trait from her, he likes another trait. We said at the beginning, divorce is an option. But we should only do it when Islamically, it's the best option. But to think, wallah, my wife is like this, let me get rid of my wife, I'm going to marry 1,000,000 times better. Why can't my wife be like her? Why can't my wife be like her? Every one of us knows. For example, you wouldn't have one female relative, like I'm talking about relatives because now you know your relatives. You have one relative who cleans like no one can clean, but her mental health issues are through the roof. And that's why she can clean so good, because she got ACD. But if she was to be in your house and clean your house like that, beautiful. But her mental health issues, you'll divorce her. Other women, they're amazing at cooking. But maybe, mashallah, she's a bit bigger in size. She's like, why can't my wife cook like her? But maybe if you had a bigger woman, you wouldn't be happy. Maybe another woman, she's, mashallah, size 8. perfect body for you, mashallah. You say, I love this body, but she can't have kids. So you say, wallah, you love her as a wife, but she struggles to have children. She doesn't want to have children. Maybe she can't have children, or she can have children, but she really struggles. So she doesn't want to get pregnant. And you want to have a lot of kids. Don't think, okay, one trait means a perfect wife or a perfect husband. You have what you have. Thank Allah for what you have. And look at the good points and work with those good points. And if there's improvement that can be made from the husband or the wife, speak, communicate to have those improvements. But if you're a guy, be very sensitive in how you approach. Even the way there's many insecure guys, be very, very, very sensitive in how you approach the bettering of your husband also. But thank Allah, to think always relationships are better, this is destroying us. Now it's become a common joke in the West that don't ever think that your first marriage is going to work. Don't ever think that your first marriage, you're going to get divorced 100%, you're going to get married 100%, you're going to get divorced. And then your second marriage will work. Why do they make the second marriage work? Because they've learned the hard way. I'll compromise on this and I'll change myself on this, etc., etc., etc. Do that in your first marriage. If she's a good woman, hold on to a good woman. Do your best to stay with a good woman. These sisters, if your husband's a good guy, do your best to hold on to that good guy. Don't ever think anyone's perfect. One of the beautiful things about being in da'wah, alhamdulillah, and having a lot of friends is that you hear the worst of the worst. You hear the best of the best and the worst of the worst. If you know what's out there, wallah, you guys know what's out there. Many of you know what's out there. And it's not pretty. There's a lot. There's a lot. You hear this, and sometimes it's from people, you look at them and think, Allahu Akbar, this person should have been in the time of the Sahaba. And you hear and you think, this is, he would have been, if he was there, he would have been with Abu Jahl. If he was there. And same thing with some of the females. Thank Allah for what you have. Don't ever think that the grass is green on the other side. This is an option many people are taking and they're regretting it. Don't lose the good women that you have. Don't lose the good men that you have, thinking that other person is better. Thank Allah for what you have. Work with the good that they have. And if there's a bad, work and be patient in achieving it. Again, my words are general. There are specific cases where that's not possible. If it's not possible, it's not possible. But don't hasten because of faults to break up the marriage. These are some of the reasons that were inside the marriage. We'll just go over them very, very, very quickly again by mentioning them. Number one, not sticking to the original agreements made before marriage. Number two, not understanding the spouse is of the opposite gender. Number three, lack of intimacy. Number four, not being a team player. Number five, not understanding each other's roles and respecting them. Number six, abuse in all of its forms. Number seven, not having a willingness to resolve issues. Number eight, always thinking that the grass is greener on the other side. Inshallah Azza wa Jalla, next week, we'll speak about some of the reasons that lead to divorce that are external to the marriage. Okay, that are external to the marriage, some of the influences and the pressures. And inshallah Azza wa Jalla, we'll finish with that. هذا والله أعلم. صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.